Listen to me very carefully. You are not watching this by accident. You might be sitting at your kitchen table right now, staring at a pile of bills that don't make sense. Or maybe you are lying awake in a quiet bedroom in suburban Ohio, wondering how you are going to protect your family's future in an economy that feels like it is rigged against you. You have done everything right. You have worked the long hours. You have kept your faith. Yet, it feels like the global elite are getting richer while you are just trying to keep your head above water. But here is the truth that the world doesn't want you to know. The system of man may be failing, but the kingdom of God is moving into an aggressive funding phase. You are the chosen one. And right now, as you hear these words, God is not just blessing you in some vague spiritual way. He is literally funding you. He is moving resources, redirecting capital, and opening high-level doors that were previously locked by the gatekeepers of this world. Your future hasn't just been considered, it has been saved. The total collapse you feared, it has been canceled by a higher authority. Think about the sheer magnitude of this. While the media is screaming about inflation and the Great Reset, God is performing a great reversal for his chosen ones. He is looking for people who have the grit of a Midwestern farmer and the heart of a prayer warrior. He is looking for you. The Bible says in the book of Proverbs, chapter 13, verse 22, "The wealth of the sinner is laid up for the righteous." This is not just a nice sentiment. It is a strategic asset transfer. For years, you have watched people with no integrity accumulate massive wealth while they mocked your values. You felt like you were falling behind, but you need to understand the logic of the harvest. God has been using the world to store up resources until the moment his chosen one, the one who can be trusted, is ready to deploy them for the kingdom. Brace yourself, because the funding that is hitting your life right now is going to be sudden, and it is going to be insane. We aren't just talking about a small raise. We are talking about systemic provision. We are talking about a total restructuring of your financial reality. Maybe it's a business idea that finally gains traction. Maybe it's an inheritance from a source you forgot existed. Or maybe it's a strategic partnership with a powerful person who recognizes your X factor. But why is God doing this right now? Because the world is in a crisis of leadership. The old systems are crumbling. The experts in Washington and Wall Street don't have the answers. God is funding his chosen ones because he is building a parallel economy. He needs leaders who cannot be canceled. He needs providers who will feed their communities when the global supply chain fails. He is funding you because you are a distribution center for his grace and his power. Think about the story of Joseph in the book of Genesis. He was in a pit. He was in a prison. He had zero net worth. But in one single day, one strategic moment, he was elevated to the second highest position in the world's most powerful nation. Why? Because God had a funding plan for the famine. Joseph was the chosen one to manage the resources that saved a nation. You are in your Joseph moment. The struggle you've endured was just due diligence. God was checking your credit score in the spirit realm. He wanted to see if you would still tithe when you were broke. He wanted to see if you would still help your neighbor when you were hurting. You passed the test. And now, the heavenly treasury has approved your unlimited line of credit. Your future is no longer a question mark. It is a statement of fact. Do you feel that shift in the atmosphere that isn't just emotion, that is spiritual capital manifesting in your life? The heavy weight that has been sitting on your chest for years, the fear of not enough, is being lifted. You are moving from survival mode to sovereignty mode. Are you going to keep acting like a victim of the economy? Or are you going to start acting like a shareholder in the kingdom? The world wants you to be scared. They want you to depend on their handouts and their rules. But you have a direct funding source that the IRS can't touch and the banks can't freeze. You are being backstopped by the creator of the universe. But wait, there is a specific condition to this funding. It's not for your comfort, it's for your calling. God isn't funding a vacation. He is funding a vocation. He is giving you the resources to be a pillar in your community, a protector of your family, and a proclaimer of the truth. If you try to hoard this blessing, the flow will stop. But if you become a conduit, the supply will be infinite. Keep watching, because in the next few minutes, I am going to reveal the 3 signs that the funding has already hit your bank account, even if you haven't seen the balance change yet. You need to know how to activate this wealth before the windows of opportunity close. Your future has been saved. Your debts are being settled. Your legacy is being secured. So the counterattack against poverty and lack has officially begun. And you are the commanding officer of this financial liberation. The architect is watching. The funds are in transit. Are you ready to sign the papers? Stay tuned, because the logic of the next level is about to be unveiled, and it is going to blow your mind. Now, let's move deeper into the core logic of how this works. You see, the world thinks about money as something you have to chase or earn through backbreaking labor alone. But in the kingdom economy, money is nothing more than a tool of assignment. When I say God is funding you right now, I am not talking about a get-rich-quick scheme that you see on some late-night infomercial. I am talking about a strategic deployment of resources that is happening because you have reached a level of maturity where you can be trusted with a master plan. The crisis we are facing in America today is not a lack of money. There is more money in circulation right now than at any point in human history. The real crisis is a crisis of stewardship. The wrong people have the money. The globalist elites who want to redefine your family. The corporate giants who want to poison your food. And the social engineering architects who want to silence your faith. They are the ones currently holding the purse strings. But God is a master strategist. He sees the total collapse of integrity in the current financial system. He sees that the banks have become political weapons. And because he loves this nation and his people, he is initiating a divine diversion. He is taking the funding out of the hands of the corrupt and placing it into the hands of the chosen. This is the logic of the counterattack. Think about the book of Exodus, chapter 12, verse 36. When the Israelites were finally leaving Egypt after 400 years of slavery, the Bible says God gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they let them have what they asked for, and thus they plundered the Egyptians. So, ask yourself, did those people earn that gold? No. They had worked as slaves for generations. They were owed that capital. God was simply settling the debt with interest. And friend, if you are a hard-working American who has been squeezed by taxes, crushed by inflation, and lied to by your leaders, you are owed a settlement. God is the supreme judge, and he has just ruled in your favor. The funding you are receiving right now is your back pay for every year the locusts have eaten. But here is the strategic twist. This funding is hitting your life in the form of seed logic. When God funds a chosen one, he doesn't just drop a pile of cash on their head so they can sit on a porch and do nothing. He gives you opportunity capital. He gives you an idea for a business that solves a problem for your neighbors. He gives you a prophetic insight into a market trend before the Wall Street sharks see it. He gives you the favor to get a loan approved that was previously rejected. Why? Because he wants you to be productive. He wants you to build parallel institutions. We are talking about a saved future. Your future was in danger because you were dependent on a system that hates you. If you depend on their social security, they can threaten it. If you depend on their health insurance, they can dictate your choices. But when God becomes your primary funding source, you become uncancelable. You become a sovereign asset. I want you to look at your current financial crisis, not as a defeat, but as a requirement for innovation. The architect of opportunity often allows the old streams to dry up so that you are forced to look for the hidden spring. You thought the job loss was a disaster. You thought the failed investment was the end. Wrong. It was the strategic vacuum that God created so he could fill it with kingdom capital. The funding is already in your spiritual account. Now, you have to learn how to draw it down into your physical reality. How do you do that? You do it by aligning your ambition with his agenda. If you tell God, I want $1 million so I can hide away from the world, the funding will be delayed. But if you tell God, I want the resources to build a business that employs 20 people in my struggling town, to fund a local ministry that protects children, and to ensure my family is a fortress of freedom, then the vaults of heaven will swing wide. You are a distribution center. The global elites are hoarders, but the chosen one is a channel. The architect is looking for high-capacity stewards. He is looking for the man who will take 5 talents and turn them into 10. He is looking for the woman who will take a small side hustle and turn it into a regional powerhouse. This is about reclaiming the high ground. Brace yourself, because when this funding manifests, it will be total. It won't just be enough to get by. It will be more than enough. It will be abundance that overflows into your community. This is the total counterattack against the spirit of poverty that has tried to keep your family small for generations. I want you to realize that your future has been saved because God has pre-funded your path. Every obstacle you are going to face in the next 10 years, the toll has already been paid. Every expansion you are going to undertake, the construction costs are already covered. You are walking into a prepaid destiny. But there is a warning you must heed. As the funding increases, the testing will increase. The enemy will send vultures to try to pick at your blessing. He will send false partners who want a piece of your kingdom capital for their own selfish gain. You must use divine discernment. You are not a cash cow for the world. You are a treasurer for the king. Keep your middle-class American values at the center of everything. Stay humble. Stay hardworking. Stay hungry for the truth. The reason this funding is hitting you right now is because we are entering a window of massive transition. The old world is fading, and the new world requires capitalists with a conscience. It requires leaders with a legacy. You have been chosen to be the banker for the resistance. You have been chosen to be the one who says no to the system of control because you don't need their money. You have better money. You have blessed money. Take a look at your hands. They might be tired, they might be shaking, but those are the hands that are about to handle the wealth of the kingdom. Those are the hands that are going to sign the deeds and build the future. Do not let fear tell you that you are unqualified. The funding is the qualification. If God didn't think you could handle it, He wouldn't have approved the transfer. In the next section, we are going to look at the 3 strategic moves you must make in the next 72 hours to capture this funding. If you wait, you might miss the first wave. This is a time-sensitive deployment. You need to be battle-ready. The saved future is not a dream. It is a done deal. The architect is signing the transfer orders as we speak. Are you ready to check your balance? Stay with me. The master plan is getting tactical. Now, we move from the logic to the capture. It is one thing to know that the funding is available in the spiritual atmosphere. It is another thing entirely to see that capital land in your physical world where it can pay off your mortgage, fund your vision, and protect your children's inheritance. You need to understand that the global financial system is designed to be a closed loop. It wants to keep the wealth circulating among the elite while you are left with the scraps of inflation and debt. To break that loop, you have to execute a strategic capture. The Bible says in the book of Isaiah, chapter 45, verse 3, I will give you the treasures of darkness and hidden riches of secret places. This is the hidden agenda of God. He is revealing the treasures that the world has tried to keep dark and hidden from you. But to capture them, you must be able to recognize the 3 signs of deployment. These are the indicators that the heavenly treasury has officially released your funding package into the field. The first sign is the disruption of the old stream. For many of you, the reason things have felt so tight lately is because God is forcefully closing the doors to your old economy. You've been trying to make the old job work, or the old strategy work, but it feels like you are pushing a boulder up a hill. This is not a crisis of failure. It is a crisis of transition. The architect is starving your old self so that you have no choice but to pivot toward the new funding. If your old stream is drying up, do not panic. Stand up. Brush the dust off your boots and look for the new river. The funding isn't gone. It has just relocated to a place that requires more faith and more innovation. This is the strategic reversal in action. The enemy thought he was cutting you off, but he was actually cutting you loose to run toward your saved future. The second sign is unexpected high-level favor. Watch your phone. Watch your inbox. Watch the random conversations at the hardware store or the post office. The architect is prompting people of influence. People who have the keys to the vaults to think about you. You are going to receive an out-of-the-blue offer or a connection that makes no sense on paper. A person you haven't spoken to in 10 years might call you with a project. A local banker might suddenly find a workaround for your situation. This is the divine lobbying of the Holy Spirit. God is whispering your name in the ears of the decision makers. When this happens, do not play it cool and do not act small. Speak with the authority of a chosen one. Recognize that this person isn't doing you a favor. They are being used by the architect to deliver the funding. You are the asset they have been looking for to secure their own legacy. The third sign is a supernatural clarity of strategy. Suddenly, the fog is going to lift. You've been confused about what to do next, but in a flash of insight, you will see the master plan. You will see the gap in the market. You will see how to structure the deal. You will see the path to debt freedom. This clarity is worth more than gold because it is the software that runs the hardware of wealth. The globalist media wants to keep you in a state of constant confusion and fear. They want you reactive, but when the funding hits, you become proactive. You stop asking what is happening and you start saying, this is what we are doing. This decisiveness is the hallmark of the chosen one. But why is this happening right now? It is because we are in a time of war. Not just a war of bullets and bombs, but an economic war for the soul of the nation. The powers that be want to move us toward a centralized digital currency where they can switch off your ability to buy and sell if you don't comply with their woke agenda. They want to turn you into a serf on your own land. God is funding you right now to provide an escape route. He is giving you tangible assets, land, gold, skills, and community networks that cannot be digitally deleted. Your future has been saved from the Great Reset because you are being pre-funded for the Great Resistance. Think about the book of 1 Kings, chapter 17. When the famine hit Israel, God didn't leave Elijah to starve. First, he sent ravens to bring him bread and meat. Then, he sent him to a widow in Zarephath. God used unconventional channels to fund his prophet during a systemic collapse. You are the Elijah of your family. You are the Elijah of your town. And God is using ravens and widows, unexpected sources, and humble beginnings to bankroll your counterattack. Do not be deceived by the scale of your current bank account. Your bank account is a snapshot of the past. Your funding is a vision of the future. The architect is infusing your life with kingdom credit. You need to brace yourself for the responsibility that comes with this saved future. This funding is tactical. It is meant to be weaponized against the forces of darkness. When you get that financial breakthrough, your first move shouldn't be to upgrade your lifestyle to match the elites. Your first move should be to upgrade your defense. Pay off the debt that gives the system power over you. Secure the resources that your family needs to be self-sufficient. Invest in the people who share your values. This is the master plan for reclaiming America from the ground up. We don't wait for a government program to save us. We don't wait for a billionaire to trickle down some crumbs. We capture the divine funding and we build our own future. Are you starting to feel the weight of the calling? The enemy is terrified. He thought he had you locked down in scarcity. He thought he had saved the wealth for his globalist projects. But he didn't count on the chosen one receiving a direct deposit from the throne room. The strategic reversal is active. The capture is underway. In the next section, we are going to talk about the decision matrix for managing the surge. When the funding hits and it hits fast, how do you keep your head on straight? How do you avoid the traps of greed and pride that have destroyed so many others? We are going to look at the sovereign stewardship model that ensures your future stays saved for generations to come. The vaults are open. The ravens are in the air. Are you positioned to receive? Stay with me. The final briefing is the most critical. Now we are moving into the strategic war room. When this funding hits your life, and it will hit with a velocity that will make your head spin, the world is going to expect you to play by their old rules. They expect you to act like a lucky lottery winner or a passive consumer. But as a chosen one, you must operate with a decision matrix that is built for dominion, not just durable goods. You have to realize that this divine infusion is not a gift for your past. It is a grant for your future. You must approach this new level of resource with a sovereign mindset. The first rule of the Chosen One decision matrix is the law of the first strike. When God funds you, the first move is not to buy back your comfort, but to buy back your freedom. In the American economy, debt is the chain that keeps the chosen from charging. The system wants you to take your new funding and immediately put it back into their circulatory system, a bigger mortgage, a flashy car lease, a high-interest credit line. They want you leveraged so they can control you. The Bible says in this book of Proverbs, chapter 22, verse 7, "The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is the slave to the lender." If you stay a slave to the lender, you cannot be a steward for the king. Your first strategic move with this divine funding must be a total debt liquidation. You are killing the giant of interest. You are cutting the leash that the global banks have on your neck. This is the strategic paradox. To the world, it looks like you are being boring or conservative, but in reality, you are becoming untouchable. You are fortifying your home so that when the next systemic crisis hits, you aren't looking to the government for a handout. You are looking at your own supply. The insane part of this funding is that God is going to offer you a blanket of protection through tangible assets. He is going to prompt you to move your digital wealth into things that have real-world value: land, equipment, precious metals, and human capital. Why? Because the globalist architects are planning a currency reset. They want to move everyone into a programmable CBDC, central bank digital currency, where they can track every cent you spend and tax your carbon footprint. But you, the chosen one, have been pre-funded to bypass the digital prison. Your future has been saved because you are building a parallel infrastructure. You are buying the acreage where your family can grow their own food. You are investing in the skills that make you essential regardless of what happens to the stock market. You are becoming a pillar of stability in a sea of chaos. But brace yourself for the price of sovereignty. Every time a chosen one moves into a position of power, there is a social backlash. The people you used to complain with about being broke. They aren't going to like your new energy. They will see your funding and they will call it greed. They will see your saved future and they will call it selfishness. They will try to guilt trip you into wasting your kingdom capital on their lack of vision. You have to be prepared to say no. This is the strategic discipline of the chosen one. You are not a public utility. You are a divine investment. You have to protect the principle so that you can produce the interest that funds the mission. You cannot rescue everyone if you drown with them. The funding God is giving you right now is tactical. It is meant to build a base of operations. Think about the decision matrix of the Proverbs 31 woman. She wasn't just submissive. She was a strategic mogul. She considered a field and bought it. She planted a vineyard with her own earnings. She perceived that her merchandise was profitable. She was funded because she was productive. She was saved because she was prepared. That is your new operational template. You are moving from consumer to producer. You are moving from victim to victor. The globalist agenda wants you soft, dependent, and distracted. But the divine funding is making you hard, independent, and focused. You are becoming the problem for the elites. They don't know how to handle a person who has values they can't buy and resources they can't seize. I want you to realize the magnitude of the sovereign stewardship you are being called to. You aren't just managing money, you are managing a counterattack. Every dollar God sends your way is a bullet in the war for liberty. When you fund a local school that teaches true American history, you are firing a shot at the indoctrination centers. When you support an independent media outlet that tells the truth, you are sabotaging the propaganda machine. When you build a family business that treats workers with dignity and honor, you are exposing the corporate tyrants. This is why the offer is so insane, because the impact is eternal. Do not let imposter syndrome tell you that you aren't qualified to handle this level of authority. The architect doesn't care about your degree or your pedigree. He cares about your grit. He cares about your handshake. He cares about your knee time in prayer. You are being accelerated into a leadership role that usually takes decades to achieve. You are in a phased transition where your internal capacity must match your external capital. If you have a $1 million account, but a $10 mindset, the money will evaporate. You must level up your thinking. You must start seeing like a general, not a private. I want you to visualize the boardroom of your future. It isn't filled with Ivy League suits who look down on you. It is filled with fellow chosen ones, men and women who have dirt under their fingernails and fire in their eyes. It is a network of sovereignty that spans the entire nation. The funding is the glue that holds this alliance together. But remember, the architect is a high-value target. And as his successor in the field, so are you. You need to fortify your spirit. You need to deepen your roots in the Word. You need to ensure that your character is stronger than your cash flow. The saved future is guaranteed, but the quality of that future depends on your execution right now. In the next section, we are going to look at the execution phase. Once the funding hits, how do you scale? How do you ensure that your first 90 days of abundance are a total victory over the spirit of lack? We are going to look at the operational protocol for kingdom expansion. The vaults are unlocked. The assets are in motion. The price is your commitment. Are you ready to take the lead? Stay with me. The final strategy is where the war is won. Welcome to the front lines of your new reality. The divine funding has been approved, and the assets are currently being deployed into your life. But as any general in the field will tell you, money without a mission is just a target for the enemy. Now that your future has been saved, you have to move into the execution phase. This is where you prove to the heavenly treasury and the globalist opposition that you aren't just a passive recipient, but an active commander of kingdom capital. The architect of opportunity has given you the war chest. Now, he is watching to see how you occupying territory. The first 90 days of your funded status are the most critical. This is the total counterattack against the generational curse of poverty that has haunted your family tree for decades. The enemy expects you to get this breakthrough and immediately go soft. He expects you to buy a big house on a debt-based mortgage and fall right back into the consumer trap. But the Chosen One protocol demands a different strategy: infrastructure first, luxury last. Your execution strategy must be to build parallel systems of power. If the global elites control the energy, you invest in solar and battery backups for your property. If they control the information, you fund independent journalism and homeschooling networks. If they control the finance, you move your kingdom capital into community banks and hard assets that they can't freeze with a social credit score. Think about the book of Nehemiah. When the funding from the king arrived, Nehemiah didn't spend it on a palace. He spent it on gates and walls. He knew that a saved future is only saved if it is secured. You are rebuilding the walls of your family's economic fortress. The old guard, the bureaucrats, and corporate sharks who have looked down on you are going to notice the shift in your financial weight. They are going to try to bureaucratize your success. They will hit you with regulations, permits, and legal challenges to try to bleed your funding dry. But here is your counterattack strategy. You bypass the middlemen. You use your divine funding to hire the best defenders, lawyers who love liberty, accountants who understand kingdom stewardship, and advisors who aren't bought and paid for by the globalists. You create an elite team that protects the seed while you plant the harvest. This is the logic of the sovereign leader. You are no longer asking for permission to be successful. You are executing a mandate. Why is the architect trusting you with this insane level of execution? Because you have battle-hardened character. You know what it's like to struggle, so you won't waste the capital. You know what it's like to be lied to, so you will value the truth. You know what it's like to be forgotten, so you will remember the least of these. But let's talk about the mental warfare of the execution phase. As the funds start to flow, you will face the demon of distraction. The world will offer you shiny objects to take your eyes off the mission. You will be tempted to retire when you should be recruiting. You have to silence the noise. You have to realize that this funding is fuel for the fight. The Bible says in this book of Luke, chapter 12, verse 48, "From everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded." This is the strategic burden of the Chosen One. You aren't just wealthy, you are responsible. You are the provider for the resistance. You are the banker for the awakening. During this execution phase, I want you to look for the gap in the armor of the enemy system. Where are they weak? Are they weak in the local school board? Then you fund the constitutional candidates. Are they weak in the local food supply? Then you fund the organic farmers who refuse to use GMO seeds. You are targeting your capital to cause the maximum disruption to the system of control. This is the total victory over the Great Reset. They want you to own nothing and be happy. But God has funded you to own everything and be free. But remember, the architect is watching your faithfulness in the flow. He is looking to see if you will honor the tithe when the numbers have extra zeros. He is looking to see if you will keep your word when you have the power to break it. If you stay righteous in the riches, the funding will become a permanent river. But if you become corrupt in the cash, the dam will break and the blessing will become a curse. You are currently in the refiner's fire of massive prosperity. Most people think poverty is the ultimate test, but abundance is actually harder. It takes a man of God or a woman of God with iron discipline to handle kingdom funding without losing their soul. Brace yourself, because the counterattack from the woke corporations is going to get vicious. They will try to boycott your businesses. They will try to slander your testimony, but they don't realize that you are pre-funded. You don't need their advertisers. You don't need their venture capital. You have direct access to the master of the universe. You are self-sufficient. You are system independent. You are sovereign. I want you to imagine the first 12 months of this new era. Your debts are gone. Your projects are thriving. Your family is secure. You walk into a room and the atmosphere shifts because you carry the weight of the kingdom. You aren't bragging. You are just occupying. This is the master plan in action. We are starving the beast of globalist control and feeding the fire of American liberty. You were chosen because you have the grit to manage the surge. You were chosen because you are a producer who knows how to create value where there was only void. Stay tactical. Stay vigilant. The final phase of this funding deployment involves a public manifestation that will shut the mouths of the skeptics forever. They are about to find out that the ordinary person they laughed at is actually the secret financier of the new freedom era. The insane offer was just the opening move. The saved future is about to be unveiled in full color. Are you ready to sign the checks for the victory, because the architect has already transferred the title? The war for the future is won with bold actions and blessed assets. The moment of strategic unveiling is here. You have moved through the shadows. You have managed the seed phase, and you have executed the first 90 days with the precision of a veteran commander. Now, the funding that began as a divine whisper in your spirit is about to become a public manifestation that the global elites and your local skeptics cannot ignore. The Bible tells us in the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14, that a city set on a hill cannot be hidden. And friend, your saved future has become a beacon of hope for an entire nation. Brace yourself, because the world is about to see the full scale of what God has bankrolled through your life. The architect of opportunity is stepping back to let you stand at the head of the table. This is the final test of the master plan. He is introducing you not as someone who got lucky, but as the sovereign steward of a new era. The corporate media and the gatekeepers of the old system are going to be shocked. They will look at your rapid expansion, your debt-free lifestyle, and your impactful projects, and they will ask, how did this happen without our permission? Who funded this ordinary person? This is the ultimate counterattack. It is the moment when the hidden ones emerge as the highly favored ones. When you step into this level of public authority, you must carry yourself with a kingly confidence. Do not allow the spirit of false humility to make you apologize for the kingdom capital you now control. The forces of the Great Reset want you to feel guilty for your abundance. They want you to think that your saved future is somehow unfair. But you know the core logic. You know about the midnight battles. You know about the years of scarcity where you stayed faithful to the word. You know that this funding is the direct result of your alignment with the Creator. You didn't steal this territory. You reclaimed it. You were strategically funded by God to provide a safe haven for the values that are currently being canceled by the world order. The public manifestation will trigger a total realignment in your social circle. People who used to look down on your American dreams will now be looking up to you for advice and investment. The local politicians who ignored your concerns will now be knocking on your door for support. But you must remember the architect's protocol. We are not here to prop up the corrupt systems. We are here to build the parallel fortress. You are going to use your legacy funding to protect the small business owner, the faith-based teacher, and the independent farmer. You are going to use your seat at the war room table to ensure that the common sense of the middle class is never silenced again. This is the total victory. This is why the funding was so insane, because the outcome was always meant to be generational. Think about the book of Daniel, chapter 6. Daniel was so funded with wisdom and excellence that the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom. The enemies of liberty tried to trap him, but they couldn't find any corruption because Daniel's accountability was to a higher power. When he emerged from the lion's den, the king didn't just give him a promotion, he issued a decree that everyone must respect the God of Daniel. That is your trajectory. Your financial freedom and your strategic success are going to force the world to acknowledge that God is funding his people. They won't be able to explain how you thrived while their globalist models collapsed. They will have to admit that there is a divine X factor in your executive decisions. But stay vigilant. The final temptation of the enemy will be to assimilate you. Now that you are a person of means, they will offer you the awards, the gala invitations, and the elite memberships. They want to turn you into one of them so you stop being a disruptor. You must remain unassimilable. Your funding belongs to the kingdom. Your loyalty belongs to the architect. Your mission is to fortify the next generation of chosen ones. You aren't just building a bank account, you are building a lineage of liberty. You are going to use your vast resources to fund endowment funds for traditional values, scholarships for free thinkers, and venture capital for patriot-led innovation. This is how you build an untouchable legacy. You don't just spend your wealth, you seed the future. You don't just collect assets, you commission leaders. The architect is satisfied because he sees that the investment was sound. He took a risk on a humble heart in the heartland, and he received a kingdom general who stabilized the economy of an entire community. The insane funding has produced a billion-fold return. As we close this chapter, I want you to breathe in the reality of your saved future. You are no longer struggling to survive. You are operating to overcome. The anxiety of the old debt-based life has been burned away by the fire of purpose. You are now conditioned for conquest. The counterattack is a total success. The new era of divine capital has begun, and you are the one holding the strategic plan. The world will try to tell you that this was just a stroke of luck. They are wrong. This is the new standard. This is the blueprint for every chosen one who is willing to step out and manage the flow. The heavenly treasury is still processing applications. The contracts are still being signed. The funding is ready. Brace yourself, not because the storm is coming, but because you are the storm that is clearing the path for freedom. So, the architect is calling your name. The funds are cleared. The future is saved. And your response is action. We have reached the end of this strategic briefing, but for you, it is the absolute beginning of a pre-funded reality. We have explored the deep logic of why you were chosen to handle this kingdom capital and how your future has been secured by a higher authority than any bank or government on this earth. The insane funding we've discussed is not just a motivation story, it is a prophetic fact for the person who is ready to move from passive faith to strategic stewardship. When God says He is funding you right now, He is talking about the ideas, the favor, and the resources that are already congregating around your obedience. The core lesson of this entire journey is this: God does not fund egos. He funds ecosystems. If your vision is big enough to include your family, your community, and the reclamation of truth, the budget for that vision is limitless. You were saved from the old world so you could build the new one. As you step away from this video, I want you to do something tactical. Look at your current resources, no matter how small they seem, and speak life over them. Treat your small seed like it is the beginning of a forest. The architect is watching how you handle the crumbs before he hands you the cakes. You are the chosen one. You are the economic fortress. You are the answer to the Great Reset. I want to thank you for staying with me through all 6 phases of this briefing. Your endurance is the first sign that you are ready for the weight of the wealth. Most people want the money, bunti, without the mindset, but you have invested the time to program your spirit for victory. Now, it's time to activate the network. We are building a community of sovereign stewards who are ready to reclaim the high ground of our economy and our culture. If you have received this message and you are ready to deploy your kingdom funding, please comment the number 999 below. This is our code of readiness. It tells us that you are braced and ready to build. If you feel you need more clarity or you have a strategic question, please comment the number 0 so we can refine our future briefings to serve you better. We value the intelligence of our chosen community. And please, if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. We are moving into phase 2 of the Chosen One protocol very soon, and the tactical updates will be fast and frequent. By subscribing, you are connecting your signal to the mainframe of freedom. The architect has approved the transfer. The ravens are inbound. Your future is no longer at risk, it is saved. Stay strategic, stay faithful, and above all, stay sovereign. God bless you, and may your harvest be great and God glorifying. Duh.